me about it. Come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspirational Perspective.
One of the things that I shared was that the premise of knowing who we are means that we also know that we are a child of God. And if I'm a child of God, and God is a creator, he is a macro creator. He created the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the ocean, this planet that is plentiful with green and trees and plants and flowers. And it's spring right now, and we begin to see the diversity and the beauty of all that he created. Also created, I think sometimes we're so caught in our space, we forget that the space that we're in is finite, and he created the infinite diversity of the universe, multiple galaxies. I mean, just sit with that for a moment. Like, that is who shared his spirit with you, and so that makes you a creator. So then we have to ask ourselves, as we look at our lives, then what are we creating? What are we creating at any given moment? And whatever circumstance, whatever it is that we're currently navigating, we have to look for the responsibility that we have in that creation. We talked about not just knowing who you are, but understanding that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and how we let other things define us, how we let the past define us, how we let loved ones define us, how some of us have allowed broken relationships to define us, how many of us today allow the media, commercials, consumerism to define us. We feel good about or feel bad about what we can and cannot buy, or how we might feel like we financially match up to someone else who is likely in deep, deep debt. And that ultimately it's the Creator Almighty that has already defined who it is that we are. And so that is where we should be looking in terms of knowing who we are. And the other piece we covered is that not only is it understanding that we're a child of God, but also shifting our perspective on this experience that we're having that we call life. Because we're not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience. And so shifting how we even look at life is very important when we come down to the notion of knowing exactly who it is that we are, and that ultimately we are connected to a supreme creative capacity that most of us rarely use. Most of us rarely use. And so in essence, we are not bodies with a spirit, but we are spirits with bodies. And what that means then is that with the creative capacity that we have, we must be careful with our words. We must be careful with our language. We must be careful what we call ourselves. We must be careful in terms of what we call others, because there's a creative force and intention that we push, an energy that we push when we speak. When we speak. And so the more, the better that we know ourselves, the more powerful, the more intentional we can be in how we create what's around us. Let's move to number 2 on the list of the 4 steps to reinventing yourself, which is then, once I know who I am, what's important for me to do is then get present to my purpose, but not just my purpose, but my purpose and my possibilities. What are my possibilities? But first, what is my purpose? So if the Creator basically has sanctioned that I be here, that my life exists in this moment. You're listening, that my life exists in this moment. Then what that means is I have a specific purpose, a purpose that he is looking for me to fulfill on this planet. And it's essential in terms of even knowing who I am. If you might want to think about the final piece of knowing who you are is understanding and knowing your purpose on the planet, the purpose for you being alive. The reason this is important is because your purpose is your identity. And I can really dive into this, right? Purpose being your identity. But when we go back to knowing who we are, I believe one of the reasons why many of us struggle with knowing who we are is because we don't know our purpose. And because we don't know our purpose, others can define us because we lack identity. So let's think about identity for a minute. Like, what is identity? Like, to actually know my identity. Like, who it is that I be, how it is that I show up, and who it is that I am in many ways. My overall identity. Identity at a very basic level means who or what a person is. Okay? And so then once I'm clear that I'm a child of God, that I'm a creator, and you know who you are, how you take that to another level is, okay, now I know I'm a child of God. Now I know I'm a creator. What is it that I'm supposed to create? Talking about the purpose and possibility. And ensuring that I'm creating in alignment with God's purpose for my life. See, here's the thing. We're constantly creating. But many of us are creating out of alignment, which is why we experience the stress and tension that we experience, because we are not aligned with who it is that we're supposed to be. I think sometimes we forget that we're not on this journey alone. And so the impact that we have is not singular, just me. Mm-hmm. And for those of you listening, just think about this, right? And Karen, I know for you as a purposeful woman, the impact that your work has had on other people, right?
Yeah.
And the impact that my work has had on other people, that's part of why we were designed to make that impact.
Yes.
And so for those of you who kind of didn't get when she said it's not just about me, it's about we, and purpose is not just about me, it's about we, that's what you meant, right, sister?
Yes. I'll give you a good example. Yesterday, we do pop-up cleanup, and one of our first pop-ups was on 79th in Lafayette. Well, we couldn't do anything because it was immaculate. Shout out to David Moore. His community was clean.
That's awesome.
So what we did, we took ourselves and connected with another organization on 110th in Roseland. Mm-hmm. And all of us individually, it was a big mess, a big messed up lot. But each individual came and made something happen. And when you step back, the overall was clean. Because each individual got busy. Each individual did. One girl had to do the bag. One girl had to do the raking. One da-da-da-da-da. But Todd did this. So we did the work individually, but when you step back, you saw the whole picture.
There we go.
I just want to say this before I get off. Mm-hmm. Right now, nothing is more important than people learning who they are. Man. Because believe me, when you realize and know who you are, everything you need, you came with on this planet. Become your own currency. The God in you is the infinite wisdom, and you will know just what to do. But you got to know who you are in order to move through. Love you.
So the other thing that purpose really helps us understand is our true possibilities. And this is how I want you to think about it. In the grand scheme of possibility in the world, there's so many things that a person can be. Right now, I look at my son, and he's 4 years old, and the possibilities are endless. And so one of the things that my wife are doing is we're watching him, and we're noticing his talents. Just the other day, he made up a song, and he's singing the song. I think it was Pam, tell me, I think it was like in the morning, getting ready for school. He's singing a song, and I'm listening, and I just knew it was something he learned at school, right? Real cool song with animals and all this, and it's like rhyming, and it's a cool song, right? And I hear him singing it. He's getting ready for school. He's singing the song, and then my wife says, I assumed he learned it at school. She goes, where you learn that song at? He's like, I made it up. And we both kind of like, what? Like, you made that up? And to him, it's simple. To us, it's one of those things where we're like, wow, okay, this is a talent that we see manifesting itself already, right? Then he came back home from school. This is Friday. It was Friday morning. Then he came back home from school, and he's singing the same song. So he knows his own song. Like, wow. And so then we started asking him, so what does the gorilla do? He's like, the gorilla bangs his chest. The snake slithers. And he's like, and it's got a whole rhythm and beat. I'm like, wow. And so that, for us, creates this new, like, we're looking at him with this, like, wow, what are the musical, rhythmic, poetic possibilities that this boy may one day take on, right? It sends possibility down a whole nother lane. This is one of the reasons why step number one is know who you are. Because when you know who you are and you know your talents, you know the gifts that God endowed you with, then you begin to look at what's possible for you in a very unique way. And I think what happens is, as our children, we see this in our community, right? All our children want to be basketball players. Not all, but you all get the point, right? Everybody wants to go to the NBA. Almost every child that plays football wants to go to the NFL, and this is natural. But there's so many other possibilities outside of the NFL, right? There, by the way, so many other possibilities for a person to take on that puts them at a level financially, et cetera, over and beyond sometimes professional sports. I think about myself in many ways. Like, by the time I was in my 30s, I was making more than a person who got drafted into the NFL. We ain't talking about superstars, okay? But regular person who get drafted, they make a couple of hundred, maybe few 100,000, and it's like they getting their body beat up. I get to use my brain. And at a young age, we might envy that, but as I got older, I'm so thankful and grateful, especially because some of these former gladiators, who I have huge respect for, they're hurting. So the point is the possibilities are endless, right? And how we begin to narrow down these possibilities is based on our unique God-given talents. And then I see these possibilities. My talents are basically leading me towards my purpose. But if I don't know my talents, then I have no direction in terms of what my purpose is. It's one of the reasons why when people take the Discover and Live Your Purpose workshop, which, by the way, I guarantee you walk out of that course, you will know your purpose. You may not have the courage yet to fully launch. We're going to talk about that in the second hour, but you will know your purpose. You'll know at a minimum. And how people find out is because I take them on a self-dating journey. And that self-dating journey, they learn what their purpose is through identifying their talents, through identifying their strengths, and knowing the difference between their strengths and their talents, through identifying their passions. As a matter of fact, I call passions our spiritual GPS, like that purpose GPS. You're not passionate about something just because. Like, it's leading you somewhere. And passions do change, right? Passions change. And the reason passions change is because it's telling you where to go next. The purpose is consistent. And don't get purpose and passion mixed up, y'all. Right? Purpose is consistent. The passion is just leading you somewhere. It's leading you to where you're supposed to be next. Think of purpose like an onion. And I don't know about you all. If there's someone young listening right now, if you still have, and by the way, it's never too late. But if you still have decades and decades in front of you, I want you to really, really hear this. And if, you have your young one listening, like, really slow them down right now and get them to listen to this. The beauty of identifying your purpose at a young age is that because purpose is like an onion, it's got layers. And what happens is, as you pursue your purpose, you begin to push past each layer. Think about an onion. You take one layer off, right? And the further in you go, the closer you get to the core. The closer you get to where it's most potent. And that's how purpose works. Let me give you an example of what I mean. When I first distinguished my purpose at the age of 22, 23 years old, I realized that, okay, the first layer was, one, working on myself. All right, if my purpose is to help myself and others live the best life possible, then I need to be living my best life. And so that became the focus. Really, really pouring myself into self-development, pouring myself into working and being intentional. A lot of times when my friends were out at the clubs, I was somewhere working, getting overtime, double time if I could, in broke down buildings, redeveloping those buildings. Because one of the things I knew, to really live my purpose, you need, Karen talked about it, not just personal currency, right, which is incredibly important. That's the most important. But you also need the currency of this world, because they go hand in hand. And so those are the things I'm like, how do I develop myself? How do I create for myself what is my best life? Then the next layer was leadership. See, because once I developed myself, then I was able to begin leading other people and doing the same thing. And so I moved into leadership at a young age in my late 20s. And then once I got past the leadership piece, and in my early 30s, it became teaching and inspiring and motivating others to really maximize their potential and abilities, right? And these were the layers of purpose at that point. The next layer for me came as a senior leader. Now I have more exposure, more influence, and I began at that same time to now write my blog and to share on another level, a deeper capacity. In the course, I actually break this down. I'm going to go to it if I can find it real quick. I actually break this down into what I call 3 levels of purpose, 3 layers of purpose. And the first layer is learning who you are within yourself. Who am I within myself? And this is actually becoming present to your essence. To your essence. What is your essence? Your essence is your spiritual substance, the piece of you that you create with. This is how you create what's around you, by knowing your essence. But then on the flip side of knowing your essence, when you move to level 2, what happens is you become clear on who you are for others. One of the things that Karen talked about on the phone call, right? It's not just, and I think this is one of the reasons why some folks might have been like, what is she talking about? Because when you get to that second layer of purpose, some of us, by the way, it's nothing wrong, but if you're in that first layer of purpose, it's got to be about you, because you're learning who you are. You're learning what you can offer, and you're gaining more fluency in many ways with your own power, your own creative capacity. But then when you move to level 2, it's not just who you are within yourself, but it's also who I am for others. And what I mean by who I am for others, the beauty of moving to level 2 is now that I've been able to learn who I am within myself and create on that level. Now, as I create on level 2, I become a blessing to other people. I become a blessing. So think about the next layer is you become a blessing to other people. But then there's layer 3. And by the way, again, purpose is permanent. And so I learned who I was within myself. But now I become a blessing to other people. And then level 3 takes you to a whole nother level because now you know who you are within the world. No matter where I go on the planet, whether I'm in Africa, whether I'm in Ghana, taking people to Ghana, whether I'm in Uganda, Rwanda, no matter where it is, I know who I am in the world. And I show up that way. We could be in the hotel lobby. You gonna catch this, right? We could be in a hotel lobby on the equator in another continent. If you get to talking to me, you gonna catch this. I know who I am in the world. You can be a dignitary. You can be a president. You can be a CEO. I know who I am in the world. And I think about it when we was on the way to Uganda. One of the gentlemen we ran into was a CEO, on the plane. Got to talking to him on the plane, standing in the aisle. And he was a CEO traveling with his family. And we just got to talking about his business in Addis, Ethiopia, what he's doing, the challenges he's having. I know who I am in the world. I know who I am in the world because I'm very clear on my mission. I'm clear on my mission. So the 3 levels of purpose, first, who I am within myself, my own essence, my ability to create from that essence. Number 2, who I am for others and how I can be a blessing to them. Number 3, who I am in the world and my life mission. My life mission. The work that I'm doing today is my life mission, which is to, in many ways, redeem the African American community. That is my life's mission. And my declaration is that I will live a long and prosperous life, at which the end of that life, I will have the opportunity to witness the redemption of the African diaspora. That's part of my mission. That's the game I'm playing. Now, don't what's my mission if you don't know your purpose? Like right now, it's like, know your purpose, know your essence. And then if you don't know your purpose and your essence, don't be worried about blessing other folks. It's time for you. This would be like me, 22, 23 years old, trying to get on the radio, bless people. Y'all would be like, who is this child? And when are they going to take him off? Purpose is important because it's permanent. And almost everything else in your life, everything else that you experience in life will be temporary. Now just sit with that. See, because most of us are chasing temporary things. Most of us are concerned with temporary things. And I can't even begin to tell you the excuses that I hear for folks who don't know their purpose. Like, I can't even begin to tell you about folks that don't know their purpose. Like, you don't know your purpose. You're chasing temporary things. Folks will save up for a purse. Folks will save up for shoes. Folks will save up for a vacation, all of which provide some level of a temporary experience. And by the way, the vacation is probably number 1 on my list because at least that experience will change you and transform you in some kind of way. The purse and shoes will not. But they'll save up for those things. And then when I launch the course and I sell the course, they'll go, oh, man, this is so expensive. I can't afford it. I can't afford it because they don't understand how important the permanence of purpose is in their life. Everything else is temporary. I don't care how bad that dress is. It's going to be out of season at some point. I don't care how dope those J's are. They gon' get old at some point. At some point, somebody will ride you on your shoes that at one point with all of that, they'll be like, man, those J's look tired. You gonna give them a rest? And that's the beauty of purpose. Purpose is permanent when everything else in your life, most of it's temporary. Even sometimes that so-called forever love. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We all been there. How long you gonna be with me? Forever. How long you gonna love me? Forever. You don't even know their phone number no more. You don't even know where they live. You don't even know where they at. And you don't even care. And some of y'all right now just had to be like, you think, ooh, and I can't stand them either. But there was a point where you thought that love was going to last forever. Nothing, most of what we experience in this life is temporary. And the beauty of purpose is that it's permanent. I was having a conversation with a business partner of mine yesterday, and we were talking about it. Art and I, we kind of went back and forth about it this past week, more so than, family codes and community conduct, but just family, man. And the one, I guess marriage is just not a thing, seems like, anymore, right? And then for the folks who are married, the struggle is real. And like, what is this about? It's something about our current environment where, like, we don't get that it's about more than just me and what I feel. It's about the collective. And I think because people are getting married without that insight, it won't last, because marriage is a collective thing. Family is a collective. Once we set our eye on possibility, and this is something we should always be doing, you all. We should always be setting our eye on what's possible from a place of purpose. And so even now, as I look at what I've been blessed with, as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur and businessman, it's, every year, I went through this activity with the Slayer Goals community, and even with many of you all who listen, talking about the power of setting a goal. Setting a goal is setting your target. Now, let me tell you why this is important. This is important because if you don't operate with intention, then you are operating by default. And if you're operating by default, you are the only creation on the planet that is not honoring some level of God-given intention. Like, just sit with that for a second. Because many of us are being programmed by outside forces that we don't even begin to understand. And because we're programmed by those forces, we're operating by default. We do not have an intention, and the intentions that we have they weren't set by us, and they weren't set by the Creator, and they don't come from a source of purpose. Everything on God's green and beautiful planet has an intention. Even the infinite space of the universe was intended, and it plays out some level of intention. So then if I'm not operating with intention, I am out of integrity for my life, for my purpose. When your intentions aren't clear, then the consequence is tension. Like when your intentions aren't clear, the consequence is tension. What's another word for tension? Stress. Stress. Folks be like, I'm so stressed out. It's a dead giveaway. It's a giveaway. When you're so stressed out. And by the way, there's different types of tension. We're going to talk about it. The tension I'm talking about is the chaotic tension. The chaotic tension. You don't know where you're coming. You got anxiety. Just what's happening? Like when you operate with a lack of intention, that creates tension in your life. And this is because intention links us to the creative capacity of the spirit. This is why goals are so important. I don't just push goals, you all, because I'm a coach. Okay? I push goals because goals require you to look within yourself. A goal requires you to actually say, well, wait a second, how am I going to do that? Which then makes you say, and who am I to do that? And how can I create that? With, of course, the help of the creator. That's how you begin to tap into essence, your own essence. And as you tap into this essence, that's how you powerfully create in the earth realm. Now, to put it another way, we all have some level of intention. The question is more so the source of that intention. So I said it earlier, right? Everything on God's green and beautiful planet has intention. All right. But if you're operating by default, that doesn't mean, because here's what happens, right? I have somebody say, I'm intentional. I'm intentional. I intend to go to this concert this weekend, right? But you didn't think of that. Somebody put that in your head, right? That wasn't your personal creation. Now, ain't nothing wrong with a concert, but you didn't think of that. Like that's not a worthy goal of you, because the concert will come and go, and then what? And this is one of the reasons why many of us go on these highs and lows, because we're externally sourced. And so what is your God-given intention, right? So we all have intentions. The question is more so the source of that intention. Is it creator sourced? Is it self-sourced? Is it media sourced? Is it commercial sourced? Man, look, there's a lot of folks who are watching the playoffs right now who don't even know why they have the urge for a certain type. They like, I don't even really drink Miller's Light, but I really want one, because you've been sitting there watching Miller Lite commercials. Now somebody like, oh man, that stuff tastes horrible. I want this. Right. That commercial is going to lead you towards whatever that is. We don't even know why we want these things, why we intend to go after these things. Is it media sourced? Is it commercial sourced? I was having a conversation with one of the groups I coach, and right now we're doing this course on stories and the impact of stories and race on our mental context. And we're talking about how race in itself is a story. It's a story. And we live and create within our story. So if I tell myself a story about race, and I know somebody right now is like, Linal, but it has an impact. Well, okay, because that's your story. I'm not going to even get into that. But I live and create within my stories. And so if I accept the story of race, then I live and create within that story. All right. That story becomes my source. I can't tell you how many of us in the black community, so-called black community, African-American community. By the way, I say so-called because it's a label. All right. It's a label. I know some of us are in love with the label. It's still a label. because you're a child of God at the end of the day. But so many of us are caught up in this race story. We're creating within the story. You're creating your tension. You're creating your racial interactions. You're creating these things. Oh, I wish they would think I'm still. I wish they would walk up on me. And then they walk up on you and like, oh, I can't believe it's all because I'm black. Because you're creating in that story. We have so much creative power. We just don't get it. So we all have intentions. And so where's your intention source from? Creator source, self-source, media source, commercial source, friend sourced. Be careful who you run with. What's your source? What's your source? See, here's the thing. We live in a world where the information is plentiful now, but the spiritual is experiencing a deficit. So much information. And in all this information, the one piece of information that's missing is, hey, you're a spirit having a human experience. And because you're a spirit, you have creative capacity. You're creating everything around you. But for many of us, instead of getting aligned with the spirit, instead we live in a world where we consult other people, the culture. That's like a noun now, right? The culture, the media, and we look almost everywhere else before we consult the spirit. So let's start with what intention is. What is intention? An intention is simply what one intends to do, or check this out, or bring about. I intend. Like the word itself has power. I intend. Definition number 2 says that an intention is a determination to act in a certain way. Then it gives the word resolve, to have resolve. That's a good word. Resolve. To actually operate with resolve. Like, ask yourself right now, do I operate with resolve? Somebody's like, well, what does that mean? So let's tell them. Resolve is to deal with something successfully. To be able to deal with life's problems. To be able to deal with the opportunities that come at you successfully. To resolve your doubts. To resolve your disputes. To find answers. To deal with something with resolve. That's a big word. To resolve, to operate with resolve is to make something clear, to fully understand it. See, we moving so fast sometimes that we don't even sit with something and say, do I really get this? Do I really understand it? But you can tell me all about season 7 of whatever y'all watching, right? You can tell me all about that. You understand that. You get that. And you understand why she was upset with him and he did this. Like, and if I were them, I would have did this. But when it comes to understanding, fully understanding yourself, fully understanding your purpose, fully understanding your possibilities, that's where you draw a blank. Man, what's happening? To resolve. To resolve is to create a solution. To operate resolve is to reach a firm decision. This definition just keeps going. To resolve is to declare or decide. To resolve is to break up or separate something. To resolve is to reduce by analysis. To resolve is to work out a resolution of something. To resolve is to cause resolution. So intention is is definition 2, at least, is a determination to act in a certain way. Resolve, to resolve. So when I say act with intention, hopefully you all now you see where I'm going. One of the things that we cover in the course at length is this notion of response. And the thing that I began to really, really stamp into them is, it's not the stimulus. It's not the stimulus. It's not the stimulus that has control. What's the stimulus? The thing that happens, right? The thing that's coming at you. It's not the stimulus that has control. It's how you react. It's how you act. Not, and by the way, not how you react, because we don't want to react. We want to act. You want to act from a place of intention and resolve. If my intention is to become a senior leader, a vice president, an officer of this organization, when the stimulus comes at me, how do I intend to act? Will I allow the stimulus to ruin my career? Y'all listen to me, right? Because some of us, I talked about this before, how we go from 0 to 100 and be proud of it. But when you went from 0 to 100, were you acting with resolve? Resolve? Were you thinking about what it is that you intend to create? Were you thinking about your target? Set the target. Were you thinking about your target and acting from that place? See, that's acting with intent. So then we have to go back to, if I'm acting to, some folks say, well, Linal, you just don't understand. You know, so-and-so gets under my skin and I just got to, what's your source? What's your source? What's your source? See, this is the reason why being spiritually connected is important. This is the reason why slowing down and connecting is important, because when you're clear on your source, you're not reactionary, because you're like, all right, am I acting in alignment with my purpose? Am I acting in alignment with the Creator's will? This is why we're so disenfranchised with folks when they react. I can tell you, and by the way, we can see how aligned you are when you react. Like you told on yourself. And by the way, no judgment. But you just you told on yourself. When you react, when somebody, you see the videos I saw a video on Instagram. Somebody sent me 2 pastors cussing each other out in the church. One in the pulpit, the other one walking away off the pulpit having preached. What's your source? I don't know whose pastors they were. But see what happens is when you're not connected. By the way, folks can talk a good game that ain't connected, right? They got the information. That's why I tell y'all all the time, like, don't believe me. Go check. Like, go check. Don't believe what I say. Like, go check it out. Because I'm human just like you. And I'm working this just like you. And believe me, things have happened to me. I remember one time my wife and I was at the airport, something happened. I had to. That's when the saints say, if it weren't for Jesus, you would have got caught today. Right? But you like, man, if like you, okay. Right? But I had one of the moments, it was like, okay, are you going to let this stimuli dictate how you respond? What's your source? But see, all this is coming down to the target, right? Setting the target. Where are you going? So right now, we're coming to the end of April. We're going into the 5th month of the year. What's the 2022 target? What's your target for your health? How's that going? Just like, take a moment to think about that. Where are you in your self-love journey? If you love yourself, great. Then look at your health and say, okay, am I loving myself that way? Am I really a manifestation of what self-love looks like inside and out? How is your mental and emotional well-being? Set the target. Set the target. Set the target. Like some of us, and I get it. I'm not talking to the person who, clinically depressed. But some of us are depressed simply because we don't have a target out of depression. Like there's something about that feeling that provides you a payoff. Like you get to feel bad for yourself, and that gives you a payoff. And then, folks actually feel sorry for you. Well, Linal, he be going through. And you hear that, and you be like, yeah. Like, the payoff is, yeah, I could, I get to feel sorry for myself. Like, but, at some point, when are you going to set a target beyond that? In terms of your mental and emotional well-being. Like, set the target for happiness. Set the target for contentment. Set the target. What about your relationships? What target are you setting? What target are you going for in your marriage? Are you looking for more connection, more passion, more communication, more intimacy? Set the target. You got folks complaining about their significant other. You ain't even set a personal goal. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's you, because if you were working on something, if you had an intention, it would put a healthy tension in the relationship. Now your partner has to come along. Or they the problem. But what is your target? We live in a world, man, where folks are so worried about other people. We're so worried about other people. What's your target? Where are you going? What are you looking to create in that relationship? What's your target in your business if you're an entrepreneur? Like, do you even have a number? Sometimes we'll complain about, well, it seems like I can't get where I want to be, but you don't even know where you want to be. That's why you're not getting there. And then we'll set these outlandish targets. I want to make $1 million this year. And I'm not saying you can't, but do you got it on paper how to do it? Set the target. Okay, you're going to make $1 million this year? Then how much should you be making this month? I don't know. That's not a real target. Set a target. Be real about your target. Go for that target. What's your financial target? Where are you going? Where's your family going? What target do you have for your children? I had somebody wrote me a question and said, Linal, man, you're doing these things for, I was talking about one of the things that my wife and I have done for Legend in terms of setting him up for his future. And, when Legend's 60, 65 years old, he'll be a millionaire, God willing. That's based on what we've done. But then the idea is that he can't touch it, so he does something so he knows what to do when he gets it, right? But what is your intention? What's your target for your children? Like my target is his retirement. Some of us are like, well, just college. Okay, then what about after college? Are you teaching them? Are you molding them to be like citizens that actually contribute not just to themselves, but to the whole community in a powerful way? What's your target? If the target is just to get them to school every day, you're missing the mark. You're missing the mark. What's the long-term target here? We got a 2022 target for Legend. We know where we want them to be. Starts kindergarten this year. We're working on that, right? Thank God for my wife. She's like, man, she's on top of it, right? She sets the target. She goes. I mean, she goes. I continue to look at this family structure, man. My heart goes out to any single parent. My heart goes out to you. And this is where you got to be even more connected. You got to really, really align yourself. Is it possible? I believe so. But I look at my wife and I and the work that we do in conjunction with each other and our family. And there's things that I just miss that she picks up and vice versa. I thank God for her. What's your target? What's your spiritual target? Where do you want to be spiritually? What spiritual goals do you have? What level of connection do you want with the Creator? I'm gonna make a quick turn here. I was talking to a client, and the client set a goal for a new level of spiritual connection. And they said, you know, Linal, I'm realizing that I'm having a really hard time, like really trusting the Creator and backing off in my own places and allowing the Creator to take the control, like to really take control. And by the way, this is in reference to a spiritual target. I just, something in my spirit said, like, lay this out. I've been there before. I remember I used to have anxiety attacks thinking about letting the Creator take full control of my life. Like, this is real. I get it. Because there's something about us as human beings that we think we know. Like and part of it is because I believe it's part of what the Creator put inside of us to operate with a certain level of autonomy. But we forget that autonomy is second to His will, right? So then we'll say, well, you know, I believe, this is actually going right into step number 4, by the way. I believe in my purpose, and I believe this is what I'm supposed to do. Step number 4, by the way, is operating with faith and conquering your fear. I believe this is what I'm supposed to do. But, I mean, how am I going to do that? And you feel a connection to the Creator. You know the Creator is leading you that way. But we are we try to figure out everything in our own human capacity. And this is bigger than you. This is bigger than you. I look back at 2015. It's the year I left corporate America. I look back at how hard that was for me. See, because somebody right now is saying, well, now what do you mean, like letting go and letting God, right? Because folks will say it, you know, they'll say it, they'll sing it, they'll scream it, they'll pray it, but are you actually doing it? In this notion of having faith, when it comes to actually allowing the Creator to do His thing, are you willing to let go? So now you know your purpose. You know who you are. You know your purpose, and you set the target. So I was talking to this client. They're like, Linal, it's so hard. And I don't understand what's going on. Like, I want to let go, but it's like, I want to assume control. They got a relationship project. They notice they want to assume control there. Creator's like, let that go. They like, but I like them. I can make it work. No, you can't. After 7 years of marriage, you can't do it by yourself. No, you can't. Right? Not only does it take the Creator, it takes them too. No, you can't. But like, I can do this. if I just do this for them, they'll love me. No, they won't. See, and this is why letting go is so powerful, right? Let me use another example. Somebody else with the health. Like, okay. I mean, I want to set the target, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's like, yeah, but this is where faith comes in. Like, it's not about worrying about how. How is a distraction? This is where faith comes in. Like, what will you determine? Like, what will you lock in on spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and then allow the Creator to do the rest? But it's like, well, I gotta figure this out, and they really want me to stop eating that. Like, you know, we get caught up sometimes. I mean, when you really think about it, your life is in the balance, and you don't know how to say no. So think about the fragility of us as human beings. And then this is the same person that wants to control their life. I want to control my own life. Like, I don't even know how to let go of certain things, and I want to be in control. When you really, like, if we really, let's make some common sense of this. When I grew up in church, they would scream at you sometimes. You know, almost make you feel stupid for not trusting God. Like, you know, kind of like, what's wrong with you? Right? But I get it. Because I've been there. So let's have a common sense conversation about trusting the Creator and having faith. At the end of the day, what is my capacity as a human being? My capacity is limited outside of everything that the Creator has given me. This ain't popular right here. It's not popular. But outside of everything that the Creator has given me, I'm limited as a human being. So if I'm limited and He is limitless and He possesses infinite knowledge and capacity, why wouldn't I fully trust Him? Let's go back to 2015 in my own life. So I'm a corporate officer. I'm making, it's, you know, I think about the salaries in corporate America, man. It's sick. Like at a certain, and then when you think about what the people who are actually doing the hard work are making, it's just ridiculous. Like my bonus was more than what people make in a year. And I ain't talking about median income. It was like my bonus was. So then the Creator's like, it's time to go. Huh? What? 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 What if? It's like, what? It's time. And I felt it in my spirit. It was in me. It was like, it's time to go. And this is what happens, right? We begin to like, okay, we forget that we had help building all that. Like, I didn't get that by myself. I still don't have a bachelor's degree. I didn't get that by myself. That was prayer, spiritual connection, setting targets, purpose, all the things I've been talking about. It was a collaboration with the Creator. So then, in our collaboration, which, by the way, he's the boss, he's the lead singer. Don't be Harold Melvin. You know that? You know who Harold Melvin is, Ade? Ade's like, what's that? Like, a lot of folks know what I mean when I said don't be Harold Melvin, right? Harold Melvin in the Blue Notes. You know, he wasn't the lead singer. He had a group, but he wasn't the lead singer. The lead singer wanted to go in a different direction, and we ain't going that way. And that's why you don't know who Harold Melvin is. Right? But you do know who Teddy Pendergrass is, don't you? Exactly. You get my point. That was the lead singer. All right? So a lot of us, we forget who the lead singer in the group is because we've had so much success. Here I am in 2015. I've had this success. And then the lead singer says, time to go. Well, wait now. Really? Now, the beauty of the Creator is it's not just a mental, emotional thing. It's spiritual, too. I felt it in my spirit. Well, how are we going to leave? I got married in 2015, y'all. How am I going to take care of this woman? Don't worry about all that. I got you. See, this is faith. Now, I'm not saying leave without a plan. I had a target. That's why it's number 3. You set a target. But what I am saying, it's incredibly important that when the time comes to pursue the target, do you have faith? So I want to close today really helping us examine fear. One of my favorite quotes is by Frederick Douglass. I prayed for 20 years, no answers. Faith. He had faith. I prayed for 20 years, no answers, until I prayed with my legs. See, he had the faith, but it took belief plus the action for the faith to manifest. And if you read the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, when he went to go run, that's where God moved. That's where he moved. In the face of all his fears of being recaptured, all the things that happened to recaptured slaves, right? That's where the Creator moved, when he had faith and he combined it with action. That's when someone who he knew saw him on the train. They looked at him. They could give me away with one word. But that's where God is like, don't say nothing. Right? Even if they wanted to, they were mute. They go Fred. They couldn't. That's when the Creator plays his part. Right? He couldn't even say, there go Fred, if he wanted to. I imagine this might have been somebody that didn't even like him. He saw him like, whoo, Lord. And he wanted to say it, but something in his spirit said, let Fred go. Let Fred go. Then the ticket person, I don't know what you call him, train conductor, whatever, comes down. Frederick doesn't even have his ID. He's a tall man. He has the ID of a sailor who's much shorter than him. And you know how it was back then. They check your ID now. You know they checked IDs back then. Y'all feel me? He's sitting on that train. That conductor asked him for the ticket. I can imagine he was praying like, Lord, you said you would protect me. You said you would take care of me. Lord, please. That man punches his ticket, don't even ask for the ID. Bow. I prayed for 20 years. Nothing until I prayed with my legs. I prayed with my legs. See, some of us believe, we say we believe, but, belief, real faith comes with action. Real faith comes with action. Real faith comes with action. Okay, so you know who you are, you know your purpose, you set the target, but are you acting on that target? Are you acting? Are you taking action? See, the other thing about faith is like real faith has you examine your fears. One of the things that hurts me the most is to think about how fear has destroyed so many life purposes. One of the things that most people come up against, once they go through the Discover and Live Your Life's Purpose course, they go through the course. One of the emails I get normally is, Linal, I trust that this is my purpose. I trust that this is what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know how. And what they're really saying is, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared of what might happen if I do this. I'm scared of not having the so-called security of my job. I'm scared. In 2015, my prayer was, man, pave the way. If this is my purpose, if this is what I'm supposed to do, then you pave the way. You show me how. You show me how. Because I don't know how. I don't know how to give this up. Teddy, I don't know how to write that song. That's what Harold should have said. Teddy, I don't know how to take us to the next level. Can you? Right? He still would have been part of the group. I want to stay part of the group. But see, fear destroys so many of our life purposes. And here's the thing about fear. I want you to write this down. I want you to write this down. Fear takes our imagination and creativity and turns it against us. Fear is a simulated story that is usually 95% wrong. All of the worst thoughts, all of the worst imaginings I could have about what would happen to me after I left corporate America never happened. And now here I am, I look back, and you know what scares me the most is if I stayed. Like the thought of that unsettles me. The thought of that is like, whew, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Again, if you didn't write this down, get it down. Put it at the top. I want you to say, label it fear. This is something the Creator gave me some years back. Fear takes our imagination and creativity and it turns it against us. The one thing that God gave us to create on this realm, fear turns it. It turns it. So the same imagination that helped you set the target, the same creativity that helped you say, this is where I'm going to go. This is what it's going to look like. This is the vision. When it gets crystal clear, then fear comes in and it will twist those abilities and turn it against you and keep you stuck. Fear is nothing more than a simulator story that is usually 95% wrong. So then how do we get to a point where we don't cave in? Where we don't cave in on our fears? How do we get to a point where we don't cave in on our fears? This is where we have to begin noticing our internal dialogue. Like, what's happening up here? Pay attention to what's happening in your mind. Is it sourced by fear and doubt or faith and love? Because love is the antithesis of fear. It's the opposite of fear. It's the opposite of fear. And then here's the other thing. You have to strongly consider taking time to gain clarity on any undistinguished fears. So what is the fear? See, because this is the thing, right? If fear is a simulator story that's 95% wrong, that means the closer I look at my fears, the closer I can see that they're fake. One of the things that fear told me is, man, you're going to leave corporate America and lose everything. You're going to lose everything. But then as I began to examine the fear, I began to see, well, no, wait a second. I've saved up about 3 years of my salary. So that means that in order for me to exhaust that, I have to do absolutely nothing. I mean, I got to sit at home eating Cheerios and playing video games for 3 years to completely lose everything. And then I still wouldn't have lost everything because I got retirement savings. I got things over here, things over there, stock, right? But fear would tell you stories and they're fake. And so what you have to do is you have to actually say, all right, that's what you're saying. Let's look at it. Like, let's for real look at it. Right now, somebody's not giving themselves fully in their relationship because they're scared that they're going to get left. He going to leave me. And so you're actually creating the environment to be left. So then what if this is the thing that got me in a place where I learned I could love. It's like, man, what if you love somebody and they leave you and hurt you deeply? Well, even if I didn't give my full self to them, it's going to hurt. But you know what hurts more? Regret. Regret. So then I'd be like, what if I had given myself fully? What if I had done these things? What if I did play to 100%? So then when you really investigate the fear, you say, I might as well play full out. I might as well give everything I got, because if they leave, it's going to hurt anyway. But at least I have not one regret. I get to live and look back on that and say, I gave my wife everything I had. She ain't going nowhere. All right, I'm just using this as an example. Folks like, she leaving? At least, the last time I talked to her, she said she wasn't going nowhere, right? But fear will play these tricks on you and have you, in many ways, creating what it is that you don't even intend to create. Notice your internal dialogue. And then begin to distinguish what fear looks like. See, fear comes in different places for different people. I was working with one client. I said, okay, let's distinguish how resistance and fear shows up for you. And this is the list they came with. Lack of clarity. So I set the target, but then all of a sudden I can't see it clearly anymore. That's how fear works, right? So you got to notice that. Then you got to say, okay, how do I see through the fog and really distinguish the target? The other thing they said is fear of doing it wrong. What if I don't do it right? Well, get past that. You're not going to do it right. You're going to make some mistakes. Did I make some mistakes early in my entrepreneur journey? Yup. Am I still making mistakes? Probably. So you can just let that one go. You're going to do it wrong. Like, absolve yourself of that. That don't mean you go out and do it wrong on purpose, y'all. Y'all get what I mean, right? The other fear was, they said, will I be consistent? Oh, okay. Well, that's a good place. So they create accountability around your consistency. We can solve for that. But here's the ones that really stuck out. Here's the ones that really stuck out. Fear of growth. Like, be with that. Some of us are afraid to leave our circles behind. When I became an entrepreneur, a lot of my so-called executive friends were no longer my friends. Like, I didn't get invited to things anymore. And I didn't even know I was afraid of that. That was one of the things that was clouding my space. Fear of growth. What's interesting is they call me now. But fear of growth. Here's the other one. Fear of success. See, one of the things we have to understand about how we're made up as human beings is there's a part of us that does everything it can to protect our fears. And if I'm afraid of losing my circle, I'm afraid of living in a different neighborhood, I'm afraid of driving a nice car. By the way, folks might be like, what are you talking about, Linal? Examine it. Examine it. See, it's one thing, I've been there. It's one thing to say, oh, it would be nice to have. But then when you actually have the means to go get it, you start to notice, like for me, when it came to getting a really, really nice, it was like all types of fear came up. Fear of growth, fear of success. How will people look at you? Will they say, oh, look at him. See, he like fear what people might say. So a practice for you all over the next week, strongly consider taking time to gain clarity on any undistinguished fear. Like, make a list. What's stopping me? What's getting in my space? And then look at where you've come from. Look at the fears you've overcome and notice how those fears were nothing more than just erroneous interpretations. Notice your fear of letting go and letting the Creator everything you want, everything you desire, everything that the Creator has for you is on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of fear. It's not about completely eliminating fear. Fear will always be there. It's about learning how to operate in the thick of fear. Learning how to connect in the thick of fear. Learning how to push in the midst of fear. Learning how to be your purpose and stand surrounded by fear. As my friend says, Attorney Fenton always says, how's he say it? We gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable. Hey, my inspired peoples, Linal Harris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach Linal Harris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.